Well, when Congress comes back into session in September, immigration reform will no doubt be on top of their agenda. But while Congress eyes the immigration ball, perhaps lawmakers should not be the only ones worrying about keeping foreigners out. They might also want to worry about keeping Americans in. Why? Well, a number of Americans who have chosen to renounce their citizenship has increased sixfold since the second quarter of this year as compared to last year. To discuss this story, I was joined just a short time ago by RT correspondent Erin Ade, and I asked her to help break down the numbers of defecting Americans.
A lot of people are leaving. They no longer, not only do they not want to stay, they don't want to pay taxes, and they're willing to give up their U.S. citizenship. So it starts off in Q2 of 2013, 1,130 residents. This is according to an IRS list of those who renounced their citizenships. This is in the second quarter of 2013. They're gone. No more U.S. citizenship. And this is from the previous high set in Q4 of 2012 of 679 people. And that was the high of all time. It was never above that. So we're obviously seeing an increase. And the U.S. estimates that the tax evasion by U.S. citizens, it results in as much as $100 billion in losses for the federal government. So that's quite a bit of money that they're losing, and they really want to stop it. And they're thinking that this is a way, with this big bill that they're instituting, is a way to kind of curb all of this exodus.
That is a lot of money that could be used on a lot of different things. But what are some of the reasons that people are giving for this mass exodus? It has to be more than that, or is it really, does it all come down to money?
Well, I actually think it's important to point out that it isn't necessarily a mass exodus. Is it an exodus? Yes, absolutely. But mass, not so much. It's a little over 1,000 people, and this is of the 6 million people that they have recorded globally working and living abroad. So it's not a tremendous amount of people, but yes, it is an increase more than we've ever seen before. And they're saying that a lot of the reason this is happening, there can be personal reasons, there can be professional reasons, but a lot of it has to do with a provision within the HIRE Act, which was instituted in 2010, the provision in the act that specifically is the Foreign Account Tax Compliance Act. It's called FATCA, kind of like fat cat, but without the second T on the end of cat, that's gone. So the FATCA is basically what it says is they want international banks, foreign banks, to tell the IRS is saying, you have to tell us whatever U.S. citizen or green card holder has an account within your bank. We need to know withdrawals. We need to know their address. We need to know all this information about them. And basically what these foreign banks are saying are, we don't want to do that. So an easier way, instead of going up against the IRS and the federal government, is to not accept U.S. citizens as clients. So if we have a bunch of money and we want to put it in a bank overseas because you don't want to pay all the taxes, they're like, no, never mind. I'd prefer to work with a French person or a German person or someone else not from the U.S. to avoid having to deal with the IRS.
And let's talk a little bit more in detail about the Foreign Account Tax Compliance Act. Does the U.S. have the only, is it the U.S. that does it, or do other countries kind of implement this on other citizens that go and live abroad?
The U.S. is the only truly developed country and economic power that institutes this on their citizens living abroad. Now, there's 3 portions within FATCA that need to be addressed. And the first one is it's requiring, like I said before, the IRS to disclose names, account numbers, account balances, withdrawals, etc., whenever a U.S. citizen does these sort of financial things within their own financial institution. That's number one. Number two, U.S. people with foreign bank accounts with over $50,000 in a foreign bank account need to fill out paperwork. It's just a new form to the incredibly long tax returns that U.S. citizens are already subject to. And it's not millions and millions of dollars. Yes, it's a large amount of money, $50,000, but it's not what we're thinking. We're thinking of like offshore bank accounts. It's smaller than that relatively. So that's another added negative for the individual with a foreign bank account. And the third point is that it's trying to close this tax loophole that we see and we hear about all the time with foreign investments and foreign bankers just making all this money overseas. So those are the 3 portions of the FATCA that need to be looked at and addressed.
So not going after the Mitt Romneys of the world, just going after some of the smaller people. But can you give us some examples of famous people? Is there anyone that is notable that has?
There's been a bunch, actually, which is really surprising. It kind of makes you wonder, hey, if you had all this money, would you do it? But the ones of note, Tina Turner. Who knew? Tina Turner. She actually applied for citizenship and is in Zurich all the time because of fiance or husband. I have to double check. A significant other is in Zurich, so she's going to be over there. Bobby Fischer sure the chess player, no longer an American as well. Denise Rich, she wrote amazing hits for Mary J. Blige. No more drama. She didn't want it here in the U.S., so she got out of here. We also have Eduardo Saverin of Facebook fame. You know, that original investor. He gave up his U.S. citizenship last year. That was a big hoopla as well, and he's in Singapore now, and that was a lot of noise. Those are the ones of note off the top of my head.
So, Aaron, let's say that I have a bank account somewhere and I do withdraw my citizenship. How could I get it back? Could I? Would it be very difficult?
As a U.S. citizen to...
Absolutely.
Once it's gone, it's gone. You actually, Elizabeth Taylor in 1965 wanted to renounce her citizenship, and she ended up not going through with it because there was I actually have a quote right here. Taylor reportedly balked at the oath ceremony where she was to abjure all alliances and fidelity to the United States of America. She said she didn't want to say that, so she didn't go all the way through with it. But like you said, no, once it's gone, it's gone. You give up your U.S. citizenship, say goodbye. You're not going to get it back.
That was RT correspondent Aaron Aid.